You're listening to Travel Tales with Fergal.
Hello, my name is Fergal O'Keeffe and you're very welcome to the podcast. It's the end of 2023, so today I'm going to be doing my annual review of the year that I always do with my wife Eimer, who's also my travel buddy for many years. We talk about lots of different places like Spain, Turkey, Ireland, Switzerland, and also looking forward to next year, memories of this year. So the big one for me was how warm it was, how hot it was during the summer, being abroad, and what will happen next year, what will the trends be, and we look forward to next year as well. And also just to let you know that from January, season 6 of Travel Tales with Fergal will continue. Also, I have a travel slot on Clare FM and Tip FM. If you want to listen to any of those back episodes, they're all available on SoundCloud. Just look up Travel Tales with Fergal. You get to listen to all the previous talks that I do on Clare FM and Tip FM. And the same with the Tipperary Live Nationalist newspaper. My articles are all available there. So I look forward to sharing many more travel memories next year, and also interviews. I've got some great interviews with really interesting travel people lined up for next year. So I look forward in January to season 6 of Travel Tales with Fergal. Before that now, let's hear my chat with Eimer reviewing this year. Take care and have a wonderful New Year's. The end of 2023. Last year we did a little review, so people don't get to hear from you bar this time of year. Eimer, my wife and travel buddy. So I suppose the first thing then, 2023 comes to mind. We have an episode out about Kilcan, but just to mention Turkey. One of the things that we didn't mention in that episode, but it's my memory. A big memory of last year was the heat. So when we were there, it was in the 40s, which it was in Spain and Portugal and all over Europe. So that was something I think is something that we'll have to look at in the future, isn't it? The whole thing about the weather.
Yeah, and at the time we were looking around at all the other locations we've been on holidays, and we've been on holidays in southern Italy and Greece in the last 10 years, kind of focused on those countries at the same time of year, and the temperatures have been absolutely fine. So hopefully it's a blip, and hopefully we won't get those temperatures again next summer. But then when we started looking at other options, like I suppose in Eastern Europe, I mean, we looked to Montenegro, we looked to northern Spain. It was the complete opposite, like it's 16 degrees and rain. Exactly. And so personally I prefer the heat than the 16 degrees.
And we were talking to people when we were in Cas, and they had been up Bilbao around there in northern Spain where we were thinking of going, and they said they'd gotten rain. So it was a real tricky one last year, because it was either chilly and rain or roasting hot. So it'll be interesting to see next summer, but I do think it is something that people will look at is and in a way we're not, I was just about to say you look at the weather, but we're not really, because now next year the plan is to go to Provence, and I've already booked an amazing villa in a village with a pool, but it doesn't have air conditioning, so it'll be interesting to see how that one goes.
Yeah, so, but you know what we loved about this year? We went to West Cork for the June Bank holiday weekend, and the weather was amazing actually that weekend. And the kids got to Skull and all that area which they haven't been to, and that was a real highlight of the year, wasn't it?
Definitely. So, as I said, turquoise coast, absolutely loved it, and that's southwest Turkey. We flew to Dalman with Ryanair, but Ryanair also fly to Antalya, so that's sort of the southwest, and then this is all along the turquoise coast. Up to Antalya is the southeast, and all around there is a place called Cerilli, which again is mountains, this kind of village with a beautiful beach and ruins. That's an area that I've always wanted to go to, on my to-do list. So that's another potential for people. Or you could drive from one, fly out of one, into one and out of another. But that whole area, and even when we flew into Dalaman, another area which is very well known, particularly with English tours, is a place called Marmaris, which was around the bay from where we were. And it was interesting because last year when we were in Sitonia, which is the middle peninsula in the Hakadiki province, there was the nearest big town to us, a place was called Neo Marmaris, which is New Marmaris. And this year we were staying in a place beside the original Marmaris because a lot of the Greeks, the ethnic Greeks, were kicked out in the 1920s from Turkey. They ended up in the Halkidiki province. But I loved that about that whole connection where we were last year. So I'd really recommend place for people is the Turquoise Coast for next year where we were, or we loved that place again, Ryanair flying in with Thessaloniki. And then the Hakadiki, Provence, all around there, the different peninsulas. And that's something that we always do every year is nearly we're dictated where we go to by new routes with Ryanair. Like this year, we're going to flying into Marseille from Shannon because again, like if you can get it, the ultimate is kind of a new location out of Cork or Shannon because they're often, when they're new routes, they're cheaper than other routes because they're trying to introduce them, and getting out of Shannon or Cork is massive.
And actually, for the first time, I suppose, in our life, we booked flights on Black Friday, which we haven't to date. And we got incredible value with Ryanair on Black Friday to go to Marseille for the six of us.
Yeah.
So that was kind of, something that we haven't tried before.
And I actually checked, and I was talking to someone, I have a travel slot on Tip FM and Clare FM. And on Tip FM, I was telling them about that, and the host was saying to me, but is it, are they real, these Black Friday deals? And I had checked on the Monday morning before I went on, to see, and the prices had gone up by €150 in a day.
So watch out for Blue Monday.
Exactly.
Third Monday in January.
And another tip actually that I was just reading in an article today about deals was, the first one was to sign up to airlines, which I kind of do, but they do email you with deals. Because airlines, they do reduce their price at certain times. So I thought that actually was a great tip. You get those emails about sales that are coming up because they actually do. That's one thing the airlines always do, are genuine deals.
Do you know what was interesting about this year? We both got to go to locations that we haven't been to before with our college friends separately. And for me, we went to Palma. I flew from Cork to Palma for 3 nights with my college friends, and that was just brilliant because I've been to New York a few times, but I've never spent time in Palma. Palma is just such a beautiful city on the coast, really good value, beautiful old city, so many places to visit, gorgeous restaurants. Really recommend it. Again, super value from Cork to Palma. And you, likewise.
The same, you're right. I went to Malaga from Cork, and it's an airport I've been to many times, but going up the coast or going to Granada or wherever, but I never actually had stayed in Malaga, and it is absolutely gorgeous. My friends actually that are there today, they're heading out, and they were saying that they really struggled to find a hotel. And I was saying, she was saying it must be still popular. This is Christmas time of year. And I was saying, one, they do amazing. They're famous for their Christmas lights in Malaga. But the other thing is, what I noticed there was, it was all Spanish. Malaga seems to be a city where Spanish go to for their weekends away. So, which is a good sign, I think. But amazing city, like, what you'd imagine with loads of, I love the Andalusian, particularly, like Seville and, that atmosphere. Like the tapas bars where it originally came from Granada. Tapas, they say, originated in Granada. I think it was a king who, he put his beer mat on top of his pint to keep the flies away, or on top of his wine to keep the flies away, and then someone put some food on top of the beer mat, and that's how tapas were started. But it's got just full of restaurants and bars, and that's the other thing I love about Spanish cities. They're probably the best for going away because they go all night. There's bars for, if you're interested, got nightclubs. It doesn't stop, and it's buzzy at nighttime, and the food, the tapas, etc. But I really loved as well is going down to the beach, because Malaga has its own beach. It's right on the sea, and it's famous for. I have a Spanish friend who told me about it, so I went down to the sea to check out they cook the sardines, they barbecue them. So all along the water or the beach area is like these big, huge kind of barrels where they cook the sardines, they barbecue them, and so you can like we literally sitting like plastic chairs and tables, and they bring them over in a plastic plate, the sardines, and it's so a glass of wine, and it's so gorgeous. And you're right in the middle of this, like that literally is 10 minutes in a taxi from the old town to the water. And as you're going down, you pass, I think it's called the Alcazar, but essentially it's like the Alhambra. It's again, it's a Moorish castle from the same period as the Alhambra in Granada, which obviously the Alhambra is one of the wonders of the world, which I would so recommend to people. You could even do day trips if you were so inclined, or I'd recommend people to stay there in Granada. But there is that Alcazar, which is an old Moorish fort, which is really gorgeous. And near there, like a beautiful those old Moorish narrow streets with loads of restaurants, an amazing old church, which was absolutely one of the most beautiful churches I've ever seen. So there's so much to do. And actually, around the corner, I didn't go in because there was a massive queue when I was there, but there's a Picasso museum. I think he lived there, or maybe he was from there. So there's the Picasso museum as well, just around the corner. So there's so much going on in Malaga. So as a city break, I would really recommend it. And it's funny how we both went to places that you just fly into to go to the coast in Spain. But I would so recommend that. And then another place I went to this year, it's December. We're recording this at the end of the year, and something that I always do anytime over the years, anytime that I've ever gone skiing, is I always, you can get a snow report. So you just put in your email, just type in snow report, and you get a snow report from the area that you're going to. So I've been doing that for like the last 20 years. So every year I get FOMO because I get these emails from the snow reports. Anytime there's snow in these resorts that I've been to around Europe, I get snow reports. And this year in March, I went to Adelboden in Switzerland. But around this time last year, there was no snow in the Alps. And I just noticed articles appearing about how, it's skiing over and there's no snow throughout the Alps. And the example they kept using as because the World Championships were on there last year was Adelboden. So I was going, the place I'm going to had no snow. And by the time I got there in March, it actually did. But it was a bit of a shock for people, particularly people who were going over at Christmas time last year. There was no snow. So the big thing I've noticed for this year is high resorts. And that's what people are looking for, like Valtorn or Cervinia in Italy, places like that. Or Verbier, it's the high resorts that people are now looking to book.
Meyerhofen.
Exactly. So that I think that's definitely going to be the trend next year. But I've been getting all these snow reports in over the last few weeks. So there's been loads of snow throughout Europe, thankfully, which would be great. And that place I went to, Adelboden, that was amazing. I have to say, mad expensive, the Swiss resorts, but they're unbelievable from a view of it's the quintessential ski town with like the old wooden houses, the valley around that, surrounded by the mountains, and the food. They're so picturesque, and the snowing or the skiing was amazing there. So I really absolutely loved going to that place during the year, and would so recommend it. It's been another great year of travel and talking and interviewing for interesting people about their travels and about their stories. And my plan is to do more next year, more regularly. And, I met some amazing people. Even today, my article about the Turquoise Coast came out the other day, and I got an email off somebody this morning called Summers Travel. They do these archaeological and cultural gullet trips. They've been doing it for over 20 years in the Turquoise Coast. And he contacted me about it, saying he'd love the article and would love to have a chat. And so that's sort of what comes about by this. Like just say Adelboden was with the Swiss Tourist Board. So I've got to meet and, people with the Spanish Tourist Board are always great as well. And I've had amazing experiences over the last couple of years. So my plan is to keep it going with the Travel Tales with Fergal podcast. And obviously doing my articles, and I have my slots in Clare FM and Tip FM. So I'm looking forward to going to many new places, hopefully next year, and sharing with you those trips. So, and I look forward to keeping it going and sharing more stories with you next year. Have a lovely new year and take care.
I would ask if you could please subscribe to Apple Podcast. I would also really appreciate if you could leave a rating and a review, as it helps others to discover this podcast. Please follow me on Instagram and Facebook at Travel Tales with Fergal.
Stay safe and keep dreaming of future travels.
Travel Tales with Fergal.